Former British ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, has returned home around 8 hours after being arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The Metropolitan Police said they'd released a 72-year-old on bail pending further investigation. Aruna Iyengar reports.
In the early hours, Lord Mandelson arrives back at home in a black cab after spending most of the evening being questioned by police. He was released on bail pending further investigation, 9 hours after being arrested on suspicion of misconduct in a public office. The investigation was triggered by the Epstein files. Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein had been associates. Emails allegedly show Mandelson discussed plans for an EU bailout with Epstein and passed on an internal note to the Prime Minister while he was business secretary. Mandelson has not spoken publicly about specific allegations in the latest Epstein files. It's understood he denies acting criminally and that his position is that he was not motivated by financial gain. Parliament has voted to release files about Mandelson's appointment as US ambassador. This could happen from next week. But the Conservatives say there are big questions about the Prime Minister's judgment in appointing him in the first place.
This is the defining moment of Keir Starmer's premiership. Watching the man who he appointed to the highest position in our diplomatic service getting arrested by police, I think is an image that's going to stay with all of us for many, many years to come.
Later, MPs will debate another fallout from the Epstein files, questions over Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and his role as a UK trade envoy. The Liberal Democrats want the government to publish files showing what checks were done about Andrew's suitability for the role. The revelations in the Epstein files continue to have a significant impact in the UK. Aruna Iyengar, BBC News.
The Prime Minister of New Zealand, Christopher Luxon, has followed Australia's Anthony Albanese in saying his government would back a decision to remove Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor from the order of succession. Currently, the former prince remains 8th in line to the throne. The government here in the UK is considering the move, which would require an Act of Parliament and would need to be supported by the 14 Commonwealth countries where Charles III is head of state. Well, later on Tuesday, the Liberal Democrats will seek to force the public release of files relating to Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's appointment as a trade envoy. The motion is expected to call for the release of papers relating to Andrew's appointment to the post, including any details around the vetting process. The party's leader said the public had a right to know.
They want to know why the former Prince Andrew was appointed to this very privileged position as trade envoy in the first place. And that's why we've used a parliamentary process to make sure that all the documents that were related to that, the due diligence, the vetting, any correspondence between ministers, particularly Peter Mandelson, who was heart of government then, is actually published so we can get some greater transparency. There's a general principle behind this debate, though, and that is that whoever you are, whatever your title, whoever your friends are, you should be subject to parliamentary scrutiny. And I think transparency and openness is the way forward if we're going to restore trust.
I speak to our chief political correspondent, Henry Zeffman. So, Henry, we heard that Lib Dems are bringing the Andrew matter to Parliament. Talk us through what their aims are and how it's going to work in practice.
Well, there's a very specific aim, which is to secure certain papers related to his appointment as a trade envoy, a quarter of a century ago now, in 2001. They want any vetting documents that there were at the time, communications within government relating to his appointment. They also want the release of any correspondence from Lord Mandelson, at the time Peter Mandelson, a senior Labour MP, to relevant government departments relating to his appointment. So that's the sort of surface level aim. But I think what they're trying to do more broadly, and Sir Ed Davey, who you were hearing from there, the Liberal Democrat leader, has been quite open about this, is trying to force a broader conversation about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, about perhaps the royal family, although he's not a working royal in that sense anymore, and trying to display that the House of Commons in general and the Liberal Democrats in particular are scrutinising the activities of even the King's brother.
And we've also seen the arrest of Peter Mandelson yesterday. Does that have the potential to be damaging for the Prime Minister, given that it raises again those questions about his judgment in appointing him in the first place as ambassador?
The Lord Mandelson saga is without question damaging for the government, and any person in government will acknowledge that in private and sometimes even in public. And there is still, it's worth remembering, a sort of vast array of documents which, after a Conservative motion a few weeks ago, the government has committed to release relating to Lord Mandelson's appointment as UK ambassador to the US, a role he was doing a year ago, which feels bewildering now, that the government is yet to release. So yes, absolutely, this is still a potentially very damaging issue for the government. I'm not sure specifically him being arrested as part of an investigation which we already knew was underway makes things more or less damaging for the government per se, but it is a reminder of this issue which lingers there. And it is just an extraordinary thing for this man who has been at the heart of the Labour Party for the best part of half a century to have been arrested, to be filmed returning to his house after an arrest at 2 in the morning. It is just one of those sort of political pinch-me moments.
And just briefly, Henry, how does it work with Parliament discussing these matters when there are active police investigations going on?
Well, Parliament has complete privilege, and MPs have parliamentary privilege to say what they like. However, I would expect Sir Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker of the House of Commons, at the start of this Liberal Democrat debate later today, to warn MPs to be careful about prejudice.
Henry Zeffman, thank you very much indeed for bringing us the latest on that.